Gee, wonderful. We just start the show and I hear a plane flying overhead already.
Well, we have a very busy airport.
Yeah.
Very busy corporate airport.
We do have
here in Peterborough.
We do have a lot of air traffic, Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman.
You know.
As you can see, I have the Bacardi rum deflator.
I thought that was Batman.
The bat? No, I'm not Batman. This is the Bacardi bat.
I thought it was bat pajamas or something.
I think the Bacardi Rum Company originally was from Cuba, and then after Castro took over and chased out Batista, Bacardi had to flee to Puerto Rico, where it is now. Bacardi Rum.
It's a good question. How come we don't have trade relations with Cuba?
We should.
What is this, 40, 50 years we've been sanctioning them? Boy, that has worked, hasn't it?
Punishing the poor of Cuba and not the politicians, not the Castro family. The Castro family was not hurting.
Yeah, well,
it's the people. They're punishing the innocent poor of Cuba.
That's the way it was. I mean, back at the first Iraq War, under
Right.
Mr. H.W. Bush,
Right.
and Schwarzkopf, General Schwarzkopf,
Right.
Madeleine Albright was the Secretary of State, I believe.
Right.
And the question came up whether the sanctions against Iraq, which had killed like 400,000 kids, children, was worth it. Were worth it. And you know what she said?
What?
Yes. They
Really?
were worth it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it is the innocent, the poor, or whatever, who always suffer under these things.
So in their eyes, the poor are lesser human beings.
Human beings? Are they human? Are you human?
Not to the elitists.
They are resource suckers.
expendable.
uppers.
They are like the ants that are building the bridge to get the colony across the puddle or the stream or whatever, and the ants that end up dying for the good of the colony. In this case, it's the good of the 1% that the little guy dies for. Look at all the military personnel that came probably from poor and middle class families that died in Iraq and Afghanistan for oil and war profiteering.
Oh, a lot of war profit.
Now, last night on Facebook, Mr. good friend and president and founder of Honest Craft Beer Reviews, Mr. John Starodomsky, posted a great article concerning global warming, the realities of global warming, which came from, I believe, CNN. And of course, a couple right-wingers try to get under my skin and push my buttons and John Starodomsky's buttons, get under our skin. And they were insisting that the rich, that the 1% are unfairly paying the tax burden. I says, are you people for real? Do you actually believe these Republican lies that the rich, that corporate America is unfairly taxed and paying the tax burden? I says, these are lies. They're insisting on it. I mentioned General Electric and the other companies that have made trillions of dollars in the past decade and have not paid any taxes at all. No, it didn't sway them. It didn't change their minds.
What about the 32-year tax holiday that the rich have been undergoing? So how can they be paying unfairly if they've had a holiday for the last 32 years? That doesn't make sense.
Of course. I mean, I could have...
And global warming, I just finished reading Hoodwinked by John Perkins, who was an economic hitman
right
once upon a time, and now he works in areas to try to improve the world. But he was in, I think it was Ecuador, I'm not certain of the country now, but the mountain there, which has this glacier that used to come down almost to the land area, and of course it provided all the water for like 3 rivers or something that run through these countries. And it ain't there anymore. It is not the size it once was, speaking of global warming.
What about the melting Arctic polar cap? The ever shrinking polar caps. What about Greenland rather? What about Greenland that is melting and huge,
remember,
enormous chunks of ice breaking off? What about the Antarctica also experiencing global warming?
When you're dealing with an ideology, nothing will sway it. No amount of facts, no amount of anything will sway it.
So because of their ignorance, these right-wingers, I don't know if they were wealthy or not, because of their ignorance or just plain stupidity, they couldn't come up with any facts. So what they did was they criticized me for name-calling against Republicans that are in spotlight. Like I mentioned, I called Sarah Palin a stupid douchebag. And he was trying to say that I was being crude and unintelligent by resorting to name calling. So I said to him, I could have wrote his name down and mentioned it, but why give him publicity? I said, well, Republicans have resorted to name calling since day one. I mean, at least the modern day Republicans. And I mentioned Rush Limbaugh and Chris Christie being gluttonous, mean-spirited poster boys for the Republican Party. And I mentioned all the shortcomings of conservatives, but it didn't do any good. These people kept on coming back. But their comebacks, Dr. Bill, were not based on any facts, any scientific proven facts.
They're usually ad hominem attacks. They just go on and on and on and on.
Yeah, they believe
because Fox News has proved over its time that it's been in existence that you do not need facts.
So what do? Follow a cult based on ideology?
Well, that's what they do. Depends on the cult. They have wrapped up in America.
Right.
They have the flag, they have the Bible, and they have the money.
Because they say so. Because they have the money.
Okay?
Anybody.
They are the good ones, and you are the bad ones.
Anybody could say anything. But can you prove?
Of course, in a world where there are no facts, anybody can say anything. That's why Fox News gets away with what it gets away with.
I mean, somebody with billions behind them or trillions behind them can say that that we all should talk like Elmer Fudd, and that's the best way to speak English.
Hey,
but if you like Joseph Goebbels of Nazi Germany, if you repeat, if the lie is big,
and you tell it enough,
if it's big and you mention it often enough,
it becomes the truth.
People will eventually.
Because facts are not important. It is perception. It is what we perceive.
That's what this philosopher was telling me last night about. I think I sent it to you about. It's how we perceive other individuals in our mind, how we process the other person, that it becomes our reality, not the behavior of the other person, which in a way, doesn't that kind of take the other person off the hook in terms of, if you look at it from the Christian Bible, like and right and wrong and sin, there are realities of life that are in black and white, that are proven fact. So,
yes, but if they take their religion on faith, so facts don't mean anything.
Right. So it's he was saying it's how we perceive the behavior of other people that becomes our reality, and he was attributing it to love, relationships, and romance. It's how we perceive our lover that makes our reality, our view, that shapes our view of them, not their behavior that makes it a reality. It's our perception. Now, with politics, it seems like money, which gives them the face time constantly in the advertisements and allows them to spread their false propaganda, it is money that allows them to perpetuate the lie. And then we were talking about...
Well, it just happened in Wisconsin, didn't it?
Nazi Germany and the Goebbels technique. Yeah,
$30 million from outside the state comes in. Walker wins his recall, and people believe that what he's doing with unions and getting rid of public service people, that's going to give us smaller government. Maybe so small, as Mr. Norquist always says, small enough to drown in the bathtub. And then, lo and behold, when the government is small enough, who will stand up to the big corporations on our behalf? Who?
It will be a corporate plutocracy. It will be, I guess, a totalitarian dictatorship with the corporations ruling the country and the world.
Correct.
And the little guy will become a mere slave.
A cog in the wheel of industry.
That's all. You know, fulfilling the dreams of the J.P. Morgans, you know, where you have child labor and you have slave camps. The prisons are mere disguises as slave labor camps, where they just make people work for free, and then of course you have third world countries working for next to nothing, and you have the worst. The reality is you will have the worst of human nature, and you will see just how vile and evil and wicked human nature is. You know, I mean, it's true what I read in that post, what I read on that poster. Mankind, human beings, are the only creatures that have to pay to live on the planet Earth, which is true. You know, it's hard. We're a horrible, despicable species, and I told these gentlemen, and I use that term loosely, that since I cannot persuade them with proof, they will have to learn, unfortunately, the hard way. Because
if they learn,
there are worse things to come in the United States of America.
If they learn.
Well, if there
will be many who will go through the Great Tribulation and will not learn.
They're not very intelligent, are they?
Their end is eternal death. Because they ain't got no immortal soul, as the counterfeit Christians keep saying and promulgating. So their end is complete ashes in the lake of fire.
Now, how are they different when you think about
eternal death?
Eternal death. Now, how are they different from the cult followers that followed Heaven's Gate, Marshall Applewhite of Heaven's Gate, and Jim Jones and David?
Well, those people never said that their cult was based on the Bible, whereas your counterfeit Christians do. That is their claim.
But it's a rewritten Bible.
It's rewritten in their heads, and it's rewritten online.
Well, they first, well, they actually did it, but they first wanted to rewrite the United States Constitution, and then later the Bible.
They've been rewriting it. The Supreme Court has been rewriting. They rewrote it with Citizens United decision.
Yeah.
Corporations are people. Corporations are not people, and they never was stated to be people by the Supreme Court. But yet there's these precedents by the Supreme Court, which states that corporations have all the benefits under the 14th Amendment. And there was never a case that stated that. There is no precedent for that.
Now, do you see the pattern here?
Yeah, it's called corruption.
They're Right. Their ideas, their ideology becomes law because of money, because the media is bought, is paid off, and the politicians are paid off, and the corporate CEOs are just paying everybody off, and they are buying, you might as well say, they're buying the United States of America.
They bought our democracy.
Right.
There is no such thing as democracy in America today.
It's fascism controlled by corporations.
That's correct.
The corporate CEO is the number one tool
The marriage
and soldier of Satan
between government and corporations. Fascism.
in the end time. Well, that's
Pure
what
and simple.
Mussolini said that, right?
Well, he had it. Mussolini had it for many years in Italy.
Yeah.
Fascism.
Well, it has happened with the United States. You repeat a big lie often enough, and the people accept it as truth because it's pounded in their heads, because the U.S. media, corporate ass kissers as they are, has sold out to their sponsors, you might as well say, just like their sponsors have bought out politicians and Americans, middle-class Americans that are carrying the tax burden since Reagan, because it was shifted by Reagan, from the rich to the middle class. The middle class fools, the lemmings, have fell for the lies, hook, line, and sinker, and that's how we ended up with a Republican Congress. So that's the fate we have. The idiots that I was fighting with, you were right, Reverend Dr. Bill. It did no good. They could not. They will not change their mind based on proven facts. So I had no choice but to call them names and tell them that they will suffer because the worst is yet to come.
You think God can change the devil's mind?
Yeah, but human beings have freedom of choice, right?
What the hell do you think the devil has?
Freedom of choice.
So
But he was jealous.
God has given him free reign
but
to test his people,
Right.
etc. But his end, since he does have an immortal soul, his end is to be locked away in a fiery whatever for eternity.
Right. But the sin that did him in was vanity, was selfishness, right? He became jealous of God's throne.
Correct. He wanted to be number one instead of where he was.
But he was delusional
The
and
first archangel.
But wasn't he delusional like the idiots in America today?
Remember something though about
Thinking
Satan.
that he can fight God?
Obviously. But remember something about Satan. In connection with like people, oh, we can't have pornography because it will corrupt people, etc. Nothing from outside corrupted Satan.
Came from within.
It came from within.
And
The Bible states that clear.
And as far
Nothing
as
from outside a man can corrupt.
and as far as pornography, in ancient times, people kind of lived out pornography because, you know, there was no monogamous, marriages back then with those men of the Bible, or the Old Testament. They had concubines, they had multiple wives, they had little sex slaves, in the house.
This was not.
They were banging people left and right.
Yes, but this was not okayed by God. But
No, but it's not new.
Well, of course, it's not
Like
new.
like the world's oldest profession is not new. I assume homosexuality was not new. Fornication was definitely not new, and it's been around for a long time, and it is what it is, But corruption came from within. That's what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
Dr. Bill. All right, let's start with the articles.
Hey.
Hi-yo. But shame on you, Al Franken, for asking the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman to donate to you. You are a disgrace. You have sold out your voters, your progressive liberal voters. Excuse me. You have sold out your voters, obviously, because you voted in favor of the fat cats in some ways, and we have not heard you speak out against conservative since you won the election in Minnesota for state senator. So shame on you, Al Franken, formerly of Air America and writer of many conservative bashing books. Shame on you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were on the air. Gee.
What?
This is...
On the air?
Yeah.
Oh my God, did I say anything right?
The camera was rolling the whole time. This is Progressive Discussions. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. I am your host, James Piranha Madonna, and I am with my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, and we are coming to you from the newsletter Censored, a research center in northeastern New Jersey. It happens to be Saturday afternoon, June the 8th.
9, I think. Didn't you say 9?
Oh, you better get it right, man.
June the 9. June the 9th.
June the 9th, 2012. And it happened.
2012, we were still here, we didn't die, the planets didn't align, and all this other crap.
When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter
doesn't love
aligns
everybody
with
either.
Mars. Hey, it's not over yet, man. What about the solar storms? The solar storms that are going to come the end of this year, jabroni?
Yeah, well, they will only affect certain areas. They will not
Yeah,
affect,
right. We'll
They
see.
will not affect the whole world.
And this is me prop. It is a blackthorn imported weapons-grade Irish shillelagh that I love to wave around. Helps me emphasize many things, like a gavel. Much classier and much more historic than Judge Judy's gavel, and much harder. And I have the metallic shamrocks, four-leaf clovers, all right, for additional luck. It gave the New York Giants luck when I saluted them and wished that they win the Super Bowl, and they did, among other people.
And what has that done for your bank account?
It hasn't done shit.
There you go. Thank you.
And that goes for all people that are starstruck by sports, professional athletes. You know, talking about your favorite team and betting on them. I mean, has anybody ever gotten rich besides the athletes off of professional sports? You know, except them, of course. All right, go ahead.
All right, this particular article on raise New Jersey's minimum wage was a classic example of a good intention and bad idea.
Let me guess, Chris Christie voted against it.
Well, Christie would vote against that, but
Yeah,
I believe this particular letter here
except his own wage.
From a right-wing perspective.
Oh, except his own wage.
We will see.
And the wages of his kids and his buddies and everything.
Well,
of
if he
course.
could get a raise, yeah, I'm sure he would vote for a raise.
Yeah.
Inherent in her lecture on how raising the minimum wage will improve conditions for the poor and the economy is the assumption that businesses don't really care about their employees.
Of course they
and
don't.
only want to exploit them.
Of course they do.
Also implied is that transferring money from employers to employees is the best way to stimulate the economy and create jobs.
Of course, more money.
So far, I agree with all of that.
More money in the pockets of the little guy is the best way to
Demand.
The best way to
That's how you create jobs.
demand. That is the backbone of the U.S. economy. Putting more money in the pockets of the little guy. Of course. How many yachts are sold to the elitists, to the 1%? No, it's the consumer. The true consumer is the little guy. It always was and always will
the
be.
refrigerator buyer.
The air conditioner buyer, the car, the automobile purchaser, so on and so on.
Both views reflect a faulty understanding of the purpose of a corporation, which is to make a profit.
A fair profit.
Wait a minute. May I interject here?
Interject.
That when corporations began in this country, they were given a charter, and their charter was to do what they were going to do in the public interest. If they did not do so, their charter was revoked.
And that was when we had the...
When has a charter today of a corporation ever been revoked?
I'm sure when FDR put in place regulations, I'm sure they would have been revoked under the real fair America.
And the cost of labor based on productivity. Maybe this person needs to talk to the local pizza shop owner or fast food manager to see how increasing the minimum wage would help them be more competitive or productive. Ignoring the views of the job creators will not help the economy or the unemployed worker if there are fewer jobs because the cost of unskilled labor has increased. Forcing employers to raise wages artificially may endear politicians to their constituents, but it makes for bad economic policy. I will say baloney to it all. Baloney. Number one, let's say the little pizza guy gives the minimum wage raise to his employee.
Is that going to keep...
It's tax deductible! Oh, I know what the problem is here.
Agreed.
Big corporations who aren't paying any taxes anyway can't deduct them. If they're not paying any, how can they deduct their wages, your wages, from their taxes? Gee, is there something wrong with that picture?
Sure. Well, all labor is tax deductible, but they can't deduct it if they're not paying anything. General Electric,
Yeah.
you know. The company that loves to outsource their plants to mainland China and not pay any taxes to the United States.
Yeah.
And the former
This is
CEO
Jack Welch.
and the former CEO that was hired by Barack Obama
Immelt.
to be in charge
Jeffrey Immelt.
to be in charge of job creation in the United States.
I don't see any jobs. Hey, how come you just brought up a point.
Oh,
How
man.
come they're not blaming him instead of Obama for the lousy jobs picture?
Because Republicans will never attack a corporate CEO.
But he's in charge.
Lying corrupt bastards.
No. The fact of the matter is, when a Republican puts someone into a office, an agency,
Mm-hmm.
that is supposed to do good, he is there to do bad. He is there to defund the agency, to make it not work. That's what has been going on for 30 years under Reagan.
Yeah,
With Republicans.
just like all the social programs, a lot of them don't really work.
Well, they've never been made to work.
You know, like
You know?
Medicaid. How many doctors really want to accept Medicaid if they only pay a chiropractor $6 per visit, or they deny a dentist? They deny a dentist, like in the case of my mother, Rosemary. They deny her. They deny to pay. They refuse to pay to repair a partial, which is a partial denture, because they feel that because of her age, she should have all of her teeth pulled out, and they would save more money if they just made her a full denture. Which
they want a one payment thing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So
They don't want to be
no.
paying. Maybe if something happens again.
Yeah.
They want a one-time payment.
Yeah,
thing.
all the social programs really are designed to fail. Even like the workforce program, they won't pay more than $4,000. Now, how many schools would want to take only $4,000 in tuition in the United States?
Yeah.
Not that many.
Because that's a big scam anyway.
It's designed to
It's
fail.
it's a big scam where, well, we don't have the jobs because we don't have the workforce that's trained for all these high-tech jobs and stuff.
You know what they
In
told?
America.
You know what they told?
Baloney.
You know what the?
There's 350,000 or more PhDs and high educated people that are unemployed.
350,000. You hear that, jabronis? And with workforce, like a workforce counselor actually said that many of the high demand jobs you see advertised on television from technical schools are in a normal America with a good economy. Yeah, they might very well be high demand careers, but guess what? They're oversaturated. When you graduate, there's no jobs to be found. They're all oversaturated. Not even just outsourced. They're oversaturated. There are too many applicants and not nearly enough jobs to fill.
Yeah.
So
and if you're over a certain age, you're not going to get a job anyway.
Could you imagine all these students, all these people that are in debt with student loans?
And that's what is happening.
With student loans?
They've got no jobs and they can't pay off the loans.
And you can't file bankruptcy with student loans, right?
No. And the interest payments on the loans are high, and deliberately high. I mean, this was a sop to the industry. The government should be providing your education, like it is in the other industrialized world. But America's too. Is it too poor? I mean, you can't give money to Wall Street and the student. Okay, that's what it amounts to, I guess. We can't keep giving money to war contractors and students and the poor. I'm sorry, we can't do that. It's either one or the other, and we've made our choice. It's Wall Street,
not Main Street. Wall Street. And even though the original America relied totally on Main Street, the small business owner, for everything, for jobs, for their services and goods, and not the fat cats, but we thank you, corrupt conservatives, for sealing the fate of the United States of America. Thank you very much for ruining the United States.
Well, they've been saying it for years. They want to shrink the United States government small enough, Grover Norquist, so it can be drowned in a bathtub. They've been saying this.
Democrat Bill Clinton, who was not all that liberal, he was more conservative than he was liberal. Bill Clinton left the country with a nice surplus, and G.W. Bush came along, the Republican, and after 8 years, turned that all around.
Yeah.
And the deficit is so bad that, I mean...
Yeah, and that's Obama's fault now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they blame poor Obama. Yeah, like it's his fault. He's trying to clean up 8 years of a disastrous mess.
But he cannot, because the Republicans stop him at every turn.
Every turn,
Mitch McConnell. We want to make him a one-term president. That is our goal. Our goal. More filibusters in Obama's presidency than ever.
Well, I wish middle class America that voted for the Republican Congress would see that these people are completely selfish and they do not have the United States and its citizens' best interest. They do not have your best interest. They have their own best interest and the elitists. So the 1% is all they care about. You know, so but they continue to believe the lies. These foolish lemmings, these middle-class fools, continue to believe the Republican lies.
Just because it has been ingrained in them that Democrats are demons and they are baby killers and etc. as secular humanists, and they should never vote for them.
Oh, yeah.
Never!
Baby killers, a stupid ideologues or a stupid
religious ideologue.
The religious fundamentalist zealot nuts. The counterfeit Christians believe that even a fertilized egg is a human being.
Nothing.
What a joke.
There is nothing in the Bible about abortion, one way or the t'other.
Mm-mm.
Okay, this is pure counterfeit Christian religious nonsense, which they wish to put into law.
Like Rick Santorum.
Yeah.
He wanted a mixed church and state. He wanted to combine it.
Correct.
I will finish up this article before your
time.
lunch.
Well, I got 3 letters here.
Oh, read them on. Read them on.
A chapter in the forthcoming epic, The Decline and Fall of the American Republic, will be the recall vote of Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. 2/3 of the record $30 million spent for Walker came from out of state.
That slimy, slithering eel.
The shrinking middle class again turned upon itself in jealousy that some might have benefits that exceeded their own. Once the idea was we should make things better for everyone, but now it is to take away earned contracted advantages from some and create equal balance. This sounds like socialism. The government workers had exchanged lower wages for greater job security and long-term benefits. The states, to keep immediate taxes lower, failed to contribute their fair share to those funds and now have a shortfall of cash. By introducing terms such as entitlements, the agreements can be broken. There's no evidence, but by calling the rich job creators, they are entitled to lower taxes than in the past.
Job creators, yeah, in China.
When evidently they didn't create jobs. Trickle down means their wealth will drain upon the drips below them. A media giant like Fox TV foists all this upon their least informed fans and listeners. It is truly a brave new world.
Siphon up economics. Never trickle down. Siphons up to the 1%.
Regarding Wisconsin, E.J. Dionne fails to mention the essential reason why Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker won the recall election. The people were happy with Walker's policies. He greatly cut the debt without raising taxes, lowered unemployment, and did not cut any municipal worker or union jobs. In fact, the unions had lied during their protests, saying that Walker was going to cut thousands of union jobs. In addition, Wisconsin taxpayers were fed up with the fact that taxpayers bear the lion's share of support for union worker benefits. Why is that? Because the rich don't pay their fair share. Bingo! E.J. Dionne also made the point that out-of-state big money helped Walker to get elected. He failed to mention that during the many protests, the unions bussed in many people from outside Wisconsin to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Would you not call this hypocritical? The failed recall election of Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker is the first significant example of how money, big money, can buy an election in this country. The U.S. Supreme Court's 2010 anti-democracy decision regarding Citizens United has opened the floodgates of money to purchase elections. In the Wisconsin recall, hundreds of thousands of decent, hard-working, tax-paying, middle-class residents were not strong enough to combat the onslaught of funding from billionaires, mostly from outside Wisconsin. What can we expect in the November elections?
Yeah, well, because progressive liberals in the United States that generally vote Democrat, as well they should, or at least for a progressive liberal candidate, they unfortunately have the big flaw, the big serious flaw that progressives still have. Not myself and Reverend Dr. Bill, but they generally have. They don't want to be labeled as mean-spirited or biased, whatever, bigoted or whatever. They don't have the guts, they don't have the backbone, they don't have the intestinal fortitude to roll up their sleeves and get into the mud pit and fight dirty with the Republicans.
Yeah, but you don't even have to fight dirty with the Republicans.
Just recall.
Just tell the truth.
Just tell the truth, and recall the election, and get rid of Walker. Just like for the same reason why Al Gore really won that election, in reality, not in reality, but in a fair world, he really won the election against G.W. Bush that time. You know what I mean?
Yes, but the United States Supreme Court gave the election to George W. Bush.
Can we all say corruption?
We can say it, but obviously it does no good for some people.
Foul play?
You know?
Can we all say foul play? No.
The United States Supreme Court had no business sticking its big fat Pinocchio nose in that election.
Okay. All right. Now, we are going to break for lunch. Well, it is the
lunch.
It is the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight known as lunch, followed by high mega vitamin C.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, Dr. Bill, unfortunately, all of this, all of these bad things that are happening now and are about to get worse in the near future are all prophesized. They are all prophesized in the Bible.
Well,
So-
yeah, but if the counterfeit Christians don't believe that,
The counterfeit Christians don't believe it because they're the ones with the money and they're the ones that own the media. But it is prophesied to happen, so I guess old Beelzebub is getting his way, as prophesied. Yes, Dr. Bill. A person, you're absolutely right. A person should always have food in the stomach when they take nutritional supplements. Always take your supplements with a meal, so you have the optimum amount of hydrochloric acid, digestive enzymes moving about when you're taking your nutritional supplements. Unless it specifies that you take the specific supplement on an empty stomach with water. Some of them recommend that. I believe they recommend that with colostrum for the immune system.
DHEA.
And DHEA, you know, which would probably mean that you take the supplement when you wake up with water, and then you wait. What's a good amount of time to get some
Like probiotics in between meals.
in between meals?
Or
Or maybe a half hour before
Mm-mm.
the supplement enters the bloodstream. Before you have breakfast, maybe half hour.
Good idea.
So anyway, all right, we're back. The Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is having lunch, his gastronomic delight, and we'll do some promo. This gentleman next to me. Oh, by the way, I just want to say, before I forget, I want to say thank you to Tom, the beer whisperer from the state of Missouri, for doing another outstanding show with me last night for honest craft beer reviews and regional food and drink. Thank you, Tom. It was a great show. It's being uploaded now onto the internet, and I took a look at it, and it was well done. All right, this gentleman next to me is a self-portrait of my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. Because the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman is a fine watercolor artist. And this is a self-portrait done in watercolor. And you can see the entire William J. Eisenman collection by simply typing in William J. Eisenman collection at Google. And all of his paintings are in a slideshow on the internet to Caribbean steel drum music, and also on the Facebook profile for Newsletter Censored. Now all of a sudden, the Facebook profile, the business promo page, up until last night, used to be visible to the general public. Now I click on the link from our talk show page, our radio page. I click on the link and it's asking me to log into Facebook. Facebook, which is owned by a corporation now, is always tinkering with the web pages. It seems like they always are changing things, and I'm sure it's not for the better of the people that own the pages. You know, I'm sure it's all done for the profit of the greedy corporation that owns Facebook. You know, like selling your personal information and spamming you when you click on something that you like. Many people hate timeline. I'm one of them. Not everything.
I don't even know what the hell it is, but I don't like it.
It changes the whole format of your page. Not everything that's new and different is necessarily better. William H. Morrow III taught me that. Not everything that is new and different is necessarily new and improved. Sometimes the older way is better, less problematic. You know.
Is that like something like
XP, Windows XP was
the
less.
Mr. Clean sponge?
What's that?
It's looks like a sponge, a white rectangular thingy.
Yeah.
And you use it like a sponge and you clean things.
It has chemicals in the sponge?
And guess what is behind the clean things?
What?
Elbow grease. So is that new, or is that, you know?
You're Mr. Clean. You're Mr. Clean. I don't use any of that. I go to the Dollar Tree and I buy a product that you dilute in water called Awesome. And it's a multi-purpose, it's an all-purpose cleaner that where you put like a dash in a spray bottle and you fill it up with water and you clean everything with it. And it works even better than Windex on Windows, better than ammonia Windex. I use it on my car, and I have proven many times. I've mopped the floor with it, and it picks up dirt that you didn't think was there anymore. And it's only $1 for a bottle of concentrate, you know. So and they make many other products. Awesome. So anyway, if you like something you see in terms of Dr. Bill's paintings, go to newslettercensored.com and send him an email and ask him if the painting is still available. And if it is, you can purchase it. Well, you can make a sizable gift offering, and the bidding starts at $500 each. He also uses gouache paint to paint with. It's a new thing that he's been doing lately, instead of using watercolors, and it seems to be working out quite well. How many gouache paintings are up there? 2 so far? You're working on your 3rd, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Got 2 up there so far.
Uno.
Yeah, uno.
Uno up there.
So
there's one over there.
if you get a painting, and like I said, the bidding starts at $500. If you get a painting and you make your gift to him for the painting, it's an original painting, signed by William J. Eisenman himself. You will most likely, probably 99.999%, you will get an annual subscription to Newsletter Censored, considering the fact that you have paid good money for an authentic painting. Now, speaking of Newsletter Censored, since I have nothing else to really promo, you already saw all of my exercise equipment, my Persian and Indian clubs. Okay, so that's done. This is the very foundation of our organization. This is the best way to join our organization. This is the backbone of our organization. Newsletter Censored. It contains the 5 taboos of American life, which is politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. There is more information in the newsletter than there is on our websites or on our talk shows. It is the kind of information that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? And I'm just looking right now at the new issue. Well, the last issue, because Dr. Bill is working on a new issue. This one is volume number 119. No Rules, No Orders, No Regulations by William J. Eisman, PhD. Okay, followed by Tidbits, which is current news topics if there's enough room for it. But lately, his political analysis have been long. And then followed by The God Project by William J. Eisman, Doctor of Divinity, where the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisman teaches you and shows you what the Bible really has to say, and not what counterfeit Christian, right-wing, zealot, fundamentalist, religious nuts tell you what the Bible says. Dr. Bill will tell you and show you what the Bible really has to say in the God Project, which can be heard on the internet, on video, and it can be heard also every Sunday on our internet talk radio station by simply going to newslettercensor.com, and at the top of the page there's a link directly to our radio station, and then you will see another link to view Censored, the archive classics, which is all the past readings of Censored, all the political stuff, and the God Project archive classics, and you will be able to see them all at your leisure as many times as you want. You can pause it. Also, so go to newslettercensored.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. Also, if you go to newslettercensored.com, you will see Dr. Bill for President. He's running for a 3rd time as a progressive independent. He will teach you how to write in a candidate, and also he will teach you the way to get corruption out of politics is to simply get the money out of politics, and it's pretty much all there. So get your subscription right away to join our organization. We are living in the end times, and you need Newsletter Censored. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative and how to survive, if it's meant to be, survive the end times, if it's meant for you to survive it. Last but not least, as a bonus, at the end of this newsletter, you have Sexuality, A Holistic Approach by William J. Eisman, PhD. That's all I will tell you. It's very deep. Deep probing. No pun intended. Sexuality, A Holistic Approach. You know, it's not about smut or pornography or lust. It is a deep, serious, scientific probing, a revelation, a lesson on human sexuality. Okay. More psychologically than based on just getting your rocks off. So that's it. Get your subscription now. Best way to join our organization. All right. Let me make myself a little useful. Or maybe I should wait until you are completely done. Oh, okay. And then I'll take it all away. What is that, an ice cream cake?
No, it was a pound cake and ice cream from a birthday party.
Oh. And it was it frozen? Because it was kind of like sitting out, wasn't it?
No. It was in the fridge over there.
Oh, okay. Camera person, is everything okay? Is the light on? Is that all important red light on up there?
I can't see.
Okay. Yeah, so anyway, we touched upon many important subjects at the beginning. For those of you that, well, of course, you can watch this video as often as you want. If you missed anything, and if you must get up and go somewhere, if you're distracted, you can always pause it. But we talked about many important subjects, including the sad fact that sometimes progressive liberals are their own worst enemy. Like my grandfather used to say, they cut their nose off to spite their face. We are progressives here at Newsletter Censored, but we're not afraid to fight for the truth. And all you have to do is simply live your life based on the real truth.
Isn't it funny that
That's all
you
you
have
gotta
to
do.
fight for the truth in America?
Yeah. And it's also a shame that if you live by the real truth, you are automatically a controversial person. It shouldn't have to be controversial. It shouldn't have to be. There should not be anything negative attached to revealing the real truth.
Well, they see how far they've taken us in propaganda mode.
Yeah, the
right wing.
the right wing, phony, lying propaganda, which has big money, big business behind it. Bought out the American media. Bought out the two-party system because, of course, you know, we have Democrats that have sold out their voters. You know, Democrats who voted to extend the Bush tax cut for the rich. Democrats that voted no concerning Obama care, health care reform. No to the public option, which happened a long time ago. Democrats that unfortunately voted yes to Monsanto's genetically modified food.
And that thing the other day, remember the one I told you that Mr. Franken voted
Al
against
Franken,
also?
Al Franken, who used to be the king of all progressive liberals, on syndicated radio show Air America and writing many books
Something about food.
bashing conservatives. Al Franken voted something about labeling. Was it labeling?
I think it had something to do with the it had something to do with food and our right to know what we're eating.
Of course we have a right to know what we're eating.
Well, obviously, the corporations don't think so.
Hold on.
Okay.
Well, corporations want us to eat their poison and continue to pay for it, which is absurd.
Well, because they have all the power.
That we should toxify our bodies, and of course the ever so greedy and crooked, which is part of corporate America, the American healthcare system, they just love the idea that Americans are eating crap and poison from our supermarkets, because then they have more patients and the drug companies end up making more money. So it's a revolving door, right? It's
Because it's a disease care situation, not a health care. You know what I mean?
yeah, it only masks the symptoms and doesn't get to the root cause of the problems. That's the American healthcare system. And of course, they want you to pay out of pocket for every freaking thing. The first thing a hospital or a medical clinic, medical center asks you is what kind of insurance do you have? They're not shy about bringing that up at the very beginning, are they?
Not at all.
They do it. They do it here in New Jersey.
That's what happens when hospitals go privatized
privatizing,
instead of non-profit.
like Hackensack University Medical Center that brags on being the best hospital, voted the best hospital in the Northeast, or maybe the East Coast. having the best cardiology department, and I think children's cancer
I thought that was Holy
clinic.
Name. Holy Name claims that too.
Oh, they claim that also?
Yeah, I think so.
And was it Bergen Regional does the same thing? Bergen Regional Hospital in Paramus. These people, the first thing on their lips, what kind of insurance do you have? That time I was supposed to get physical therapy for my right shoulder. That was the first thing out of this woman's mouth, man. You have insurance? What kind of insurance do you have? I mean, it's like whatever happened to the Hippocratic Oath?
It became the hypocritical oath.
The hypocritical oath.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to the articles.
2 endangered peregrine falcons.
They are endangered. The world's fastest creature on the planet. When they dive, they can travel faster, much faster than a cheetah. Way faster.
Living atop a Jersey City high-rise.
Why the hell did they build a nest in stinking Jersey City?
Are successfully raising 3 chicks.
Yeah, well, you know, there's a lot of pigeons and rats and squirrels up here in this part of the country. They got a lot of food.
And bird enthusiasts can check their progress daily through a webcam set up by the State Department of Environmental Protection.
Is it a man-made? I wonder if it's a man-made. Because they did that in New York City. They have man-made birdhouses for falcons and hawks on top of the skyscrapers. Excellent idea for the saving the species.
Peregrine falcons, which for centuries had been associated with falconry, the sport of kings, sheiks, and Kublai Khan, were wiped out
Yeah.
east of the Mississippi River by the early 1960s
Gee, I wonder if
because of the pesticide
DDT.
DDT.
I was a lucky guess. DDT, which also harmed eagles.
Which caused the birds to lay thin-shelled eggs that cracked during incubation.
And that's no yoke. We're not yoking around about that.
DDT was banned in 1972, and naturalists tried to reestablish the birds breeding and releasing thousands of peregrines in the East and Rockies. The species recovered enough to be removed from the Nationally Endangered Species list in 1999, though it is still considered endangered in New Jersey.
Yeah.
The first known wild nesting pair in New Jersey was observed in Brigantine in 1980. In the last few years, birders have spotted nesting pairs in Bergen County, including a couple that had 2 nestlings in 2009 on the support structure that carries Route 3 over the Hackensack River.
Hey, we have hawks in our town here, right across the street from where I'm living. There's nests, hawk nests. I see hawks flying around all the time. Never used to see that in the past. We have a lot of wild bunny rabbits hopping around my yard. Maybe that's the reason why. Between the squirrels and the wild rabbits.
Could be.
You know.
Peregrines have been spotted also on the New Jersey Turnpike and Route 46 bridges.
I see them all the time on the highway, hovering above the highway.
Over the Hackensack.
Sure.
There are now at least 24 known pairs in the state. Peregrines are about the size of a crow and celebrated as the world's fastest bird in pursuit of prey.
Yeah, when they dive.
They could keep pace with a car going 70 miles an hour.
That's incredible.
And they also dive bomb prey from above, reaching speeds of 200 miles per hour.
Incredible. That's true. They
How do they put on the brakes, man?
Yeah, you're right about that.
I think it's a swoop.
They
when they near the ground.
they swoop and raptors kill with their talons. Talons. There's claws. They're needle-sharp claws.
The peregrines atop the Hudson Street office building in Jersey City were first spotted in 2000. To view the DEP webcam showing the peregrine chicks, go to state.nj.us/DEP/FGW/peregrine cam/JCP-live.htm.
Gee, what a long link that is. Can't they like shorten that?
Couldn't you put it like peregrine cam?
You know, there's nothing I hate more than having to physically type in a long link that I can't copy and paste.
Yeah.
I despise typing in redundant things that I could normally copy and paste. But not all websites, not all programs allow you to CMP, and that pisses me off.
The chicks should be ready to fly by summer. They are a great symbol of urban wildlife, and they are a great recovery story.
Sure.
It's an encouraging sign.
Good for them. Good for any animal that is endangered or hurting to recover.
Anyone who has participated in a public demonstration is used to seeing police with video cameras recording us commoners as we dare to exercise our constitutional right to protest. They say we shouldn't worry as long as we're doing nothing wrong. But what happens when the cameras point the other way?
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones and video cameras are now ubiquitous, so police agents frequently find themselves being recorded doing everything from traffic stops to arresting protesters.
See, now smartphones can take high quality video with high megapixels. You can take a high quality photograph or a video. You know, sort of like the spy pens that I talk about all the time. It goes in it can go in the pocket of a dress shirt, and they never know you're recording them. With high quality video and sensitive microphone, it looks like a pen, but it's a video camera.
Mr. Ronald came back from Germany, where he recorded the miniature world, the new section of it, which is the airport, and played it back on his camera when he came here the other day. So now he will take it on the computer and he will make a DVD of it.
Yeah, I edit video all the time. I became very good at it. I have the software, and it's beautiful. I mean, technology is a wonderful thing. I mean, you could recharge this spy pen and you just plug it in the USB port when you're ready to download. You know, you don't have to hold the camera in your hands. Just keep it in your pocket. It's a little pen, but it's not a pen. And but you have to get a good one. You can't get a cheap one. You got to get a high.
You got to get 007 one.
You got to get a high definition, high megapixel spy pen. Unless, well, if you have the camera in the phone, you have to physically hold the phone. But people don't know you're recording them. They think that you're checking your messages, you're texting or your email. You're checking your email. They don't know you're recording somebody. So it is a form of spy camera. When you think about it, you know, if you have a BlackBerry or an iPhone, Android, whatever you have, you know.
This has exposed police abuse and produced a police backlash. Across the country, irate cops are arresting people for the crime of filming police actions.
What if you turn off the video function on your phone before the cop looks at it? They
Well,
can't
the cop, according to the one video I saw, the cop came right into the lady's yard and took away her camera and took her in.
But isn't it?
She was in her own yard.
But wasn't he trespassing on private property?
Yes, he was. But that doesn't seem to be. You see, police nowadays, the militarized police, do not care of what the Constitution says.
Did he have a?
Or maybe rights of property.
Did he have a warrant?
No, there was no warrant.
Then he's violating
Our
basic.
rights were violated under George W. Bush with Verizon Telephone Company when they spied on us without a warrant or a FISA okay. And of course, when Mr. Obama went into office, these things were swept under the rug, and nothing was done about it.
Well, when we lose,
And of course, today, all protesters are terrorists.
well, that means the more basic rights that we lose in this so-called democracy in the United States, the more rights that we lose, the closer we become to fascism.
We're already fascism. How can we get more closer?
Not needing a warrant,
Totalitarianism.
so they can literally ask to come into your home and search it without procuring a
Warrant?
A warrant.
They do it all the time.
Well, at one time you needed a warrant just to go into the trunk of somebody's car or look in their wallet, right?
Yeah, but those things were interrupting the police actions.
But it's your
Just like
privacy.
Like the right wing hates the you have a right to be silent. Any other thing you say and do will never be held against you.
Court of law. Yeah, you have a right to you have a right to an attorney.
Miranda rights.
If you cannot afford an attorney, we will
They
appoint
hated
one
them for
to
years.
you. Yeah.
That's why, when Mr. G.W. Bush was in office, they were saying and doing that these enemy combatants had no rights. Okay? They had no rights. You didn't have to read them no stinking Miranda rights. You throw them in Guantanamo and you keep them there. And you do not let them go into private courts, because if they go into private courts, then you will look like a fool because you have no real proof against them.
I'm surprised that the Soviet Union at that time didn't demand that the United States pull out of Guantanamo because it belongs to Cuba.
Yeah,
You know,
they never did.
it's like they're colonizing a piece of Cuba.
Well, we've colonized pieces of Ecuador, Guatemala,
Panama.
Iran, etc.
Panama.
On and on and on it goes. Panama.
Panama Canal, the Middle East for oil.
Yeah, all over the place. What do you think we got? What is it, 143 bases around the world?
They showed some very sad pictures of children that were maimed by drone attacks in Afghanistan. Innocent children that
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage. Yeah.
Collateral damage. Illinois has outlawed recording police without their consent, while Maryland and Massachusetts have tried using anti-wiretapping laws to prosecute citizen videographers.
What about police racial profiling? That doesn't deserve to be videoed?
It's fine. Anything the police do is fine. Fine.
You know, it's like if they harass somebody with brown skin and they want to see more ID, where's your papers, more ID, blah, 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 and they're disrespectful to that gentleman of color, and the police, they want to outlaw it so you cannot record that, right? Fascism.
Some judges are going along with this, saying that meddling citizens
Meddling, yeah.
should not be bothering authorities. One barked from the bench last October. I'm always suspicious when civil liberties people start telling the police how to do their business.
Yeah, fascist stormtroopers, how to do their business, right?
Well, excuse me, your powder-headed honor. But U.S. meddling citizens fought a revolution 236 years ago against George III's red-coated authoritarians, so we could indeed tell the police how to do their business.
Hear, hear.
It's the American way. The good news is that a federal court of appeals ruled last year that we, the people, have a constitutional right to record police actions in a public place. After all, if they're doing nothing wrong, the authorities should not worry about anyone videotaping them.
There you go.
The camera is simply a democratic tool. It empowers U.S. citizens to be our own watchdogs.
Outstanding article. Letters.
No, this is an article. This is from Jim Hightower's Lowdown. Okay? Now let's see what we got here. Oh, another animal situation. On a quiet suburban street north of Route 4, a couple named Richard and Ann have been living a birdwatcher's dream. Although some fussier folks might consider it a bit of a nightmare. For the past several years, great horned owls and their sometimes boisterous offspring have been Richard and Ann's nearest neighbors. These charismatic nocturnal raptors are the heavyweights of the world, the owl world.
Yeah.
They weigh as much as 4 pounds, stand nearly 2 feet tall, sport a wingspan of nearly 5 feet, and can kill almost any vermin within striking distance after dark. In fact, serious birdwatchers do not post the location of a great horned owl nest for fear the birds will be harassed by folks seeking a sneak peek or a photograph. That's why Richard and Ann asked me not to use their last name. These owls live atop the food chain, with mammals constituting up to 90% of their diet. Our chipmunk population, which was overrunning the property, is really down. And the owls have been getting some squirrels and voles and mice. The owls are also wonderful and extremely attentive parents. They'll make themselves much more exposed during the day to attract the jays and crows so they don't disturb the babies. Richard says that he seldom saw great horned owls in this neck of the woods and until recent years, which makes the owl's presence even more exciting. He has learned that when the owls find an area they like and they get established, excuse me, and this increasingly appears to be the case here,
right,
they could spend their whole life nearby. That could be up to 3 decades.
I saw a great horned owl off of Route 46 in Lodi, on top of a building. I didn't see it until like the early evening, you know, like before sunset. But I saw one.
But sharing your property with a great horned owl family does have some downsides that would drive other people bonkers.
Sound at night.
The couple's walkways and decks are adorned with ample splashes of whitewash.
You mean bird poopy?
Yeah.
Yeah, bird poopy is very wet. and it just, like, you know, just
Though
splatters.
it washes off fairly easily with a hose.
Yeah.
Their roof has been a busy place at night. We'd hear the scratching on the flat section of the roof over our bedroom, and we thought we had raccoons up there. But it was the babies coming to our roof to be fed. And they are really clumsy.
Yeah, they're cute, man. Birds are cute.
They go thump on the skylights, and the noise can go on all night long.
Oh, gee.
Richard and his wife occasionally witness some tough nature in action scenes. Like when one of the great horned owls was splitting up a northern cardinal for breakfast.
A cardinal? That beautiful cardinal? That's not good.
Which brings us to yet another downside. The owl's presence can drive away other species of birds. Notably, a family of screech owls that had lived in the couple's duck nesting boxes. Nonetheless, the couple still attract an amazing amount of wildlife to their property, which he describes as a 2-acre suburban preserve with a stream and 2 ponds. A birder for nearly 50 years, Richard says he has seen close to 200 species of birds in my yard. From the largest, a turkey, to the smallest, a ruby-throated hummingbird.
I hung up a hummingbird feeder 2 times, and
You got nothing?
I didn't see not one hummingbird.
According to Richard, he first became a birder in the 3rd grade when his teacher took her students on nature walks. That love of birds was reinforced by his 4th and 6th grade teacher. Both teachers would have been pleased to see how things have turned out for this former student and his wife and their owlish neighbors.
Wow. What you got?
Once again, I'm disappointed with our legislators.
Sure.
I thought Democrats would stand up to Governor Christie's ridiculous plan for an income tax cut. Especially since news of a revenue shortfall came to light. You know, the Democrats that had the majority in the New Jersey legislature?
Yeah.
The shortfall is estimated anywhere from $676 million, that's Christie's estimate, to $1.3 billion, estimate of the Office of Legislative Services.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean towards the higher amount, since the governor has underestimated numbers before.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
The main problem with this tax cut is that it would make almost no difference to the average working person. But to the top of the economic ladder, Christie's millionaire friends and contributors, it would be a substantial amount. So what's the compromise? Cutting other programs? And I'm sure we'll even see some state layoffs. I wonder how State Senate President Stephen Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Sheila Oliver can still call themselves Democrats, with all the times they have caved into what King Christie wants.
Yeah, King Christie. The Emperor Christie.
Hey, I think that would be a good name for a new donut company. Christie King.
Christie King Donuts. Well, we already have a Krispy Kreme donuts. Christie King.
Christie King.
And have Christie wear a king's crown similar to the one I have.
Yeah, Christie's picture on the box.
Yeah, with a big fat face, puckering up, with a donut in his hand.
More politics. Partisan differences now divide Americans more sharply than distinctions of race, religion, education, or sex has, as a decade-long wave has pushed Democrats and Republicans to opposite corners on a wide range of formerly less partisan issues.
Bipartisanship never worked, never will work, wasn't meant to work. Just like trickle-down economics, it's a big lie, it's a waste of time. You cannot negotiate with criminals.
On matters as disparate as environmental protection, support for the social safety net, and immigration, former areas of bipartisan agreement have dissolved as Democrats have moved left and Republicans have shifted to the right. According to a new major study by the Pew Research Center, which has tracked American values over the past 25 years. The Pew study joins a growing body of data and analysis which rebuts the belief that voters are far more unified than their elected representatives. The study was based on a survey in April of more than 3,000 adult Americans and has a margin of error of plus or minus 2.1 percentage points. Americans are more polarized along partisan lines than at any point in the last 25 years. Also, there are more people who are uniformly on the right or left. Pew researchers developed an index of several questions to test ideological consistency to see, for example, if a person who supports the social safety net also takes a liberal stance on affirmative action. Using that measure, they found that the percentage of both consistent liberals and consistent conservatives has risen. In 1987, fewer than 1 in 3 Americans fit into one of those two ideological categories. Today it's 44%. As both parties have become more ideologically consistent, Democrats to the left, Republicans to the right, both have lost supporters, and the percentage of Americans identifying themselves as independents has increased. But most of those self-identified independents lean one way or the other. Their views closely align with those of avowed partisans, including those independents who lean one way or the other. Pew found 48% of adults supported the Democrats and 40% the Republicans. So then how come Republicans keep winning elections?
Interesting. Voter fraud? Or
probably.
And
that's how George Bush got into office.
Not counting the Democrats who sell out their voters and get paid off to do so. But yeah, voter fraud. I mean, what else can it be?
Well, of course, the Republicans are going against people who they say voter fraud, which there's probably not a hell of a lot of.
Didn't Wisconsin
they love to keep people from voting. That's their object.
Well,
because they are so low.
Well,
the less people vote, the more the chances are for Republicans to win.
Especially the fact that the masses are made up of the little guy. And the little guy that has half a brain in his head will always vote his or her best interest. And his or her
Republicans.
And his or her best interest will be to vote for the progressive, liberal, independent, or the Democrat, not for the Republican, who has the best interests of the rich. Well, didn't Wisconsin residents get an automated phone call telling them not to vote?
They got phone calls telling them to vote on Wednesday.
That what happened, and lying to them. Lying to them.
All of the commercials that the $30 million from out of state paid for were all lies. And Walker gets elected again.
Sneaky bastards.
You figure it out.
Governor Walker had an automated message calling Wisconsin residents to vote on Wednesday, and election day was Tuesday. Very interesting. Reminds you of the voter fraud during the Bush-Al Gore election.
The Republicans in the 1980s,
Florida, and not waiting for the inner city vote to come back for Ohio.
The Republicans in the 1980s were convicted of franking. Okay, if you want to classify it under voter fraud. Convicted! And yet they continue. As these godsends fly the flag, the Bible, Chevrolet, Mom, and apple pie. It continues.
Interesting.
Anyway, the relatively small group that did not lean either way stood out mostly for their disengagement from politics. Okay? Let me see what else I got.
See, yeah, something not too long, but good.
Something not too long.
But a goodie.
Something good. Something good. Well, here we were talking about this before. So let's see what this says.
Stick to the themes, yeah, that we used already. Okay.
Anchorage, Alaska. About half the recent record loss of Arctic sea ice can be blamed on global warming caused by human activity, according to a new study by scientists from the nation's leading climate research center, which of course Republicans will say poo-poo to. I added that.
Okay.
I interjected that. The peer-reviewed study funded by the National Science Foundation is the first to attribute a specific proportion of the ice melt to greenhouse gases and particulates from pollution. The study used supercomputers and one of the world's most sophisticated climate models to reach its conclusions. The study was an attempt to learn how much Arctic Ocean melting can be attributed to natural variability, complex changes wrought by non-human forces, and how much has been caused by greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and by atmospheric particulates. In doing so, the study was able to look ahead to future annual decade-long fluctuations. The author and the other authors said conditions will become more volatile from year to year. That means there will be years and perhaps decades when the ice pack expands, but the trend is in the other direction. There's no doubt about it. Sea ice is going away. What we found was that about a half of that trend is related to the increasing greenhouse gases. The other half of the sea ice loss observed over the late 20th century was related to variability in the system. The study comes at an important time as public policy and climate change intersect in Alaska and elsewhere in the north. The reduction of the ice pack is already opening Arctic waters to transportation, development, and military activities.
Right.
The NCAR study says that the melting of the ice pack is no short-term fluke, but an actual change in climate. The climate model they chose had been developed by scientists after several decades.
Right.
The authors of the study ran a 4,000 years worth of data through the model. A period when volcanoes, solar variations, and other factors forced climate changes. These scientists placed extra focus on the years since 1979, when satellite images became available to determine the extent of sea ice depletion. The model accurately predicted what occurred historically, validating the method. More to the point, by replaying the climate forces of the 20th century over and over through the model, the scientists were able to show that variability can account for only half the loss of ice. That means that if humans were still hunters and gatherers, sea ice may have retreated anyway over the past 30 years. But what made the loss of ice a record? It was the carbon emissions and the other human-caused changes to the atmosphere. Those pollutants prevent solar heat from radiating back into space, creating the greenhouse effect.
Sure. And destruction of the planet's rainforests for profit. The wood industry for corporate greed again. Lack of carbon dioxide coming
You
from.
must be against business.
Yeah, I'm for the people and I'm for the planet. The people and
You're
the
one of these guys that don't like the idea of Chiquita Banana and Dole
No.
destroying Honduras and the other Latin American countries to get their bananas to market.
They're doing the same thing in Indonesia. They're destroying the rainforests of the East Indies. From what I was told, it's not new. It's not new. No, I believe that the people and the planet and the environment and all its creatures were here long before capitalism and big business, or
Had variability instead trended in the opposite direction over the past 30 years, the variability would have masked the greenhouse effect for a period of time. The ice would not have shrunk, but it also would not have grown. As for the future, with the climate warming and the Arctic ice thinning further, you can throw away the term natural variability, she said. Where heavy sea ice once tended to moderability, that natural climate is gone. With the ice pack reduced, year to year, decade to decade, volatility increases.
Well, it's really a shame what's going on. I mean, those diluted, deceived, foolish lemmings, those middle-class, corporate ass-kissing, Tea Party conservative idiots that were debating me last night on Facebook. They
and who
kept
are making the laws in Washington.
Yeah, they were telling me pretty much what the lying Republicans have been saying right along. They're telling me that scientists are insisting that the planet is progressively getting cooler. Then how do you explain the melting Arctic ice cap and Antarctic and Greenland melting? How do you explain the shrinking Arctic ice cap that's destroying the polar bear population? And how do you explain this? How do you
They don't explain it.
How do you explain the methane
It
gas?
is outside their ideology.
The global warming causing methane gas to rise to the surface of the ocean and go into the atmosphere?
And besides, in their counterfeit Christian ideas about the Bible,
Jesus is going to come and he's going to change all that.
Well, according to prophecy, Jesus is not going to change things in favor of right-wing conservatives at all. Jesus is not. I'm almost positive he is not a corporatist or a capitalist. Not according
He
to.
is not political at all.
Not according to God's economics.
He's not. No, of course not. God's economics is you own your own land and your own way to make a living. You are independent. You are really free.
Yeah.
Instead of the world of the Republican, where you are free to work for some corporation or free to go to Walmart and buy some cheap trinket from China. That's the freedoms they talk about.
Yeah. Well, in the
Not
world,
real freedom.
in the world tomorrow, we will have something similar to the way it originally was supposed to be, like it was in the Garden of Eden. A person, listen, I know our show is over. Thank you for joining us for Progressive Discussions, okay, viewers. But I just want to say, you know, in the world tomorrow, or the world the way it's supposed to be, the way it was meant to be, human beings should not have to worry about paying bucks, paying money for everything in life, for their survival, their happiness. You know what I mean? But that's how the greedy 1% have arranged it. You know what I mean? You should.
They have arranged that your survival
right
depends on someone else.
Yeah, your survival. They want your survival to depend on the. Thank you for joining us, people. They want our survival to totally rely upon some corporation where that doesn't want to pay you a living wage, that never keeps up, never even comes close to the rising high cost of living. They want you to pay out of pocket for everything because they want to privatize everything, and your very existence has to be slavery to some corporation.
Profit before people.
Right, and the profit before people, but in fact, and before the planet, but in fact, the wealth, God's wealth, the earth's natural resources belong to God. And Haggai, and it's supposed.
Haggai.
Oh, I'm sorry, Haggai. The book of Haggai. Right, book of Haggai, and it's supposed to be equally shared. Equally shared. Now, what I told this right-wing jabroni last night was that, you know, he called me he says, "What's the matter? What is the matter? You can't make up your mind whether or not you want to be a Marxist or a communist." I said, listen to me. Karl Marx did not promote or represent any particular political party or system. He just merely criticized all the shortcomings and drawbacks and evils of capitalism, right? Yeah. Basically, he just criticized and told the truth about capitalism. He wasn't, you know, trying to promote a particular political party. So these people don't do their homework. They don't know history at all.
Well, they also, like I said before, with the Chevrolet and Mom and Apple Pie and etc.
Right.
They attach capitalism to their religion and their America.
Right.
You know.
Exactly.
It's all one. And if you criticize it, you're criticizing the whole thing.
Well, it's like the Salem witch hunt, the trials. You know what I mean? You couldn't win. You're like you're at the mercy of.
Yeah, like the witch. What if you throw it in the water? If she sinks, she's guilty. If she rises, she's guilty.
If she rises, you're damn if you do and you're damn if you don't. You know, it's a corrupt kangaroo court, basically. You know, the corporate plutocracy of the conservatives. You know, you just can't win. You can't win. You know, if your life is based on the truth, you can't win. Just like Jesus was persecuted. You know, and the disciples were martyred. Can't win. The truth can never be. You can't lose with the truth, but against evil, you lose.
Well, you lose because you're
immediately.
You're dealing with people who claim they get their religion from the Bible and etc., but they conveniently forget, like the 2 Thessalonians 21:5, prove all things. They don't want to deal in proof. They want to deal in faith.
Prove all things, hold fast that which is good. They want to deal in a lie because it justifies their greedy, power-hungry, wicked ways.
That's correct.
You know. All right. Take care. Say so long to these
So
people.
long, people.